Hello and welcome to Thursday Thoughts. Thursday Thoughts? What on earth are they, I hear you ask? Well, my friend Lucy and I meet every week over on Instagram to talk all things personal growth because she is as obsessed with it as I am. And we decided that we might as well put those conversations out as a weekly podcast. So now you can listen to us chat here on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we'll be talking about topics such as spirituality, limiting beliefs, the ego, imposter syndrome, gratitude, meditation, confidence, and so much more. So if you're ready, here we go.
So we're talking about mindfulness, and this is something that I think probably a lot of what we already have spoken about is essentially mindfulness, because I think mindfulness almost, it's the sort of umbrella term for a lot of what we talk about. Like, you know, I see it as just being in the moment and actually just being aware, just being more aware of being in the moment. But that's what we're talking about today. So what do you want me to start, or do you want to start?
Okay, well, where should we start? I suppose, it's being aware. Mindfulness is, it's about using really your senses more than we do. I think so many of us just walk blindly through our lives in automatic mode. It's just like when you drive your car sometimes and you're just so in the zone and you kind of suddenly get to your destination, like, my God, well, how did I get here? I don't even recall that journey. And I think a lot of us live our life like that. And that's when the days, the weeks, the years just seem to speed up and go so quickly because we're just so on automatic pilot. But when actually you can start to become more conscious of everything, then we are actually living our lives so much more. We can really savor it and slow it down and live in the moment. And I think a lot of that is just by opening our eyes, kind of opening our ears, really kind of bringing our senses to life and using them. And I say that, I'm as guilty as anybody of just kind of going through the motions. But, sometimes we just need to kind of go for a walk, open our eyes and really look up and just see the wonder of what is going on and really savor it. Like drinking my cup of tea, normally I only have one cup of tea a day generally. And I love it so much. But even then, sometimes I kind of gulp it back and then I'm like, oh my God, it's gone. And I didn't really savor it. So it's kind of reminding ourselves to really savor those moments. I don't know. What about you? What is it for you?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It is so much about sort of savoring and actually for me, it's about savoring the tiny little things. Because I think ultimately, I really truly believe that in order to live the happiest life and to be the most joyful, actually, the key is to be able to find joy in the tiny little everyday things. I mean, that, as far as I'm concerned, is the key to happiness, peace, contentment in your life. And I think so often we're chasing these kind of bigger things. We want more money and a better career and la la la. And actually, what happens when we're focused on the bigger things is that we forget about the little tiny moments in life. And that's when the days and the weeks and the months and the years just fly by. I mean, they fly by anyway for me, for sure. And if, like you said, I'm also as guilty as anybody else. But I have, since I've been on my journey of personal growth and spiritual awakening, I've I've definitely become more mindful, more sort of in the moment. And I think I did a mini-sode a couple of weeks ago, it might have been last Saturdays, where I talked about how I think you can get to it. It's quite common to sort of get to November and be like, oh, do you know what? It's November. I think I'll just leave this till Christmas, till the new year. I'll leave that till the new year. I'll stop doing my healthy eating. I'll stop doing my exercising or whatever it may be. And I think there's a tendency for this part of the year just to sort of whiz by in a complete kind of blur of Christmas stuff. And then suddenly it's over and it's January and we're all feeling a bit down, because if you're anything like me, I always feel a little bit low after, once New Year's over, not least because it's my birthday on January the 1st. So that's kind of this double whammy of being a year earlier, being a year older, and it's the new year too. So what I was talking about in this mini-sode is how I think that rather than the rest of December, we kind of let everything go, we should actually be more mindful about trying to achieve as much as we can before the end of the year, to really make the most of every freaking day before it's 2024. Because when it's 2024, it's like there's no going back. It's 2024. It's another new year. And I don't know whether anybody else feels like this, but I genuinely cannot conceive how the actual frickin' frick it is December the 4th. I do not understand how it happened. I remember so vividly at the beginning of this year sitting down and I wrote out like my goals for the year in my amazing A4 planner that I have and I'm obsessed with. And I've just ordered a new one actually, or I just received a new one. But I remember sitting there thinking, it's January. Okay, let's nail this year. Let's make the most out of this year that we possibly can. And here we are, seemingly 5 minutes later, and it's December again. And it is really scary. So I think it's really important to just every single day try and bring your attention to the moment that you're in, because we all have a tendency to be thinking about something in the past or something in the future or something that we're worried about, so we miss the moment that we're in because we're not in the moment. But as all the kind of great philosophers will tell you, all we have is right now. This is it. There is no in 2 weeks time or in a month, because every moment we get to is the moment that we're in. We're always in the moment that we're in. So it's just a question of really learning how to savor that. And yeah, I mean, you were talking about going for a walk in nature, and I do that every single day. And that is such a good way of being in the moment and being more mindful. And like you say, you just got to look up and look around at the amazing, because it's so easy to walk through life and really not be noticing the wonders of the world and the wonders of nature and all the amazing things around us, because we're worried and we're stressed and we're reading the news. Well, I'm not, because I just don't read the news precisely for that reason. And we forget to look for, we forget to see the amazing things that there are all around us. So I think it's really bringing your attention to that and just, being in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting, isn't it? Because I'm telling my kids constantly, I'm like, just be in the moment, because they're so, in their world of technology and thinking about the next thing. And it's easier said than done, but sometimes it really is. And sometimes I think some of us don't want to be in the moment because it can feel slightly uncomfortable being in the moment, because of the realization of where we're at or what we're doing, and we've got all these hopes and dreams of where we want to be and what we want to achieve or whatever it is. But actually, I've really learned this, particularly with my business. Actually, it's just really appreciating what you have right here, right now.
Yeah.
And actually, it just kind of gives you that real sense of well-being, rather than constantly projecting into the future. I want that, and I haven't yet got it, and immediately puts you into that state of lack, as opposed to actually, when you're in that moment, it's much more easy to be grateful for what you have. And I think that's the thing, we've got to then switch on those feelings of gratitude rather than the feelings of lack of what we haven't got. Because it's just when you're in that moment and you can really sense of everything you have, even if it's just, I am warm, I am inside, I have something to eat, it really can help us to really focus the mind and forget all the other zillion things which are going on around us, which are going to stress us out and put us into that, real kind of, well, not only the lack, but also in a more of a stressed state. So I've been really focusing on that, and I love what you're saying about do the thing now. It's never too late. You know, for example, my new Just Breathe online course thing, community membership thing, which I've been thinking about doing since, and I've literally I've got one more thing to do tomorrow to certify as it. And I've been thinking, oh, I'll just do it in January because it's a new start, and I'll start it then. And then I was a bit like, no, I'm kind of ready to go. Why not just start right away? And then I had all the little voices going, but everyone's really busy. No one's going to join. What if no one joins? It's going to be really, it's going to look really crap. And actually, it was like, sod that. Well, what am I waiting for? Actually, just do it. And some people have joined, okay, and some people are trying it out. It's not particularly busy, but it really doesn't matter. It's just making the most of it and doing it now. And actually, we all do that, don't we? We're always like, oh, I'll do it when X, Y, and Z has happened, or I won't start then because we make an excuse, just procrastinating. But again, it's this whole mindfulness thing in a way is linked to let's just do it now. What's wrong with the present moment? It doesn't have to be perfect. We want everything to be so shiny, clean and new that actually doesn't have to be. So let's just get on with it because why not? And that's a real shift. That's been a massive shift for me in terms of living more mindfully. That's a sort of, I suppose, a sort of like a little offshoot of being mindful.
Do you know what it's making me think of though? It's actually making me think about decision making, which is going off on a complete tangent. But when you say, you just started your Just Breathe and it's just made me think that one thing that I've got so much better at over the last few years is making decisions quickly, because it's just, life is too short to be just ruminating on something for days and weeks and months and years. If you want to write a book, just fucking write it. Just start. Just make the decision to do it. But I think we've got part of the problem is there is so much choice in the world today. There is just so much information coming at us that it can be even more difficult to make decisions because there are so many other things. There are so many things to think about and there are so many options. But I really believe that if you can make decisions quickly, I think that's a real, I think it's a really valuable thing to be able to do. And I always just say to myself, even if you make a decision to do something that you're not 100% sure about, you can always change it. Actually, what is better is to make the decision and move forward than not make the decision and not move forward. Even if it's the quote unquote wrong decision, if you're making a decision, you are moving forward. And it's just so important, I think, to do that. And one other thing I wanted to say about mindfulness is it's kind of up to us to really, how we're talking about those moments when we're in nature or just appreciating the cup of tea or whatever it is. It's really up to us to cultivate joy and gratitude in our lives, and whatever life situation you're in, because we all have our issues, we all have shit going on, every single one of us. And of course, some people are in a much worse situation than you or I are. Some people are in better situations, but we've all got shit going on. This is life. It's just part of the human experience. No one gets away with it. And so I think the point I'm trying to make is that we all, and speaking of decisions, we get to decide to cultivate joy and cultivate gratitude in our daily lives. We can all do it, but I think we have to learn to be really intentional about doing that. You have to make the decision that you want more joy in your life. You have to make the decision that you want to be more in the moment and actually do something about it. And it again, it's what I was saying earlier on, but I really think that we've got to bring it down to the tiny, tiny, tiny little things. That is where the joy is. That is where the trick is. It is being able to be, like, for example, my sister and I went to IKEA this weekend. We have a Christmas tradition every year. We go to IKEA, normally with her kids, but they're just too old and cool now and they just don't care about it. So we're like, well, screw you. We're going anyway. And I bought several things. One of the things I bought was a desk lamp. Because I just needed a desk lamp that's kind of like on a that moves around with a proper spotlight. And I tend to sit practically in the dark at my desk with a crappy lamp, and I just needed a new desk lamp. So I got this desk lamp. It was like $19.99 from IKEA. Got it home, set it up, and I cannot tell you how much joy this desk lamp is bringing me. Like, literally, every time I look at it, I just feel deep, deep joy.
Yeah.
And it sounds ridiculous. And I think I'm quite lucky because I am able to find joy in tiny little things like that. But we all can. It's a question of
Yeah.
cultivating it. So when you can get to the point where you buy an IKEA desk lamp and it just gives you a complete high, and every time I look at it now, I'm like, oh my God, I love my desk lamp so much. I love the color. I love the fact that I can move it. I love the fact that it's, I can see my planner when I'm writing things, and it's just made me so, so happy. So it really is those tiny things that we've got to learn to just really take so much pleasure in, making a cup of coffee, having our breakfast.
Yeah.
There's nothing, it's such a cliche to say, but we have everything we need. We have everything we need. And if you took away, the people who are really the happiest people are the ones that if you took away everything, they would be fine, because they're fine in yourself, they're in themselves. We've got to learn to be good within ourselves, and to be able to just be in the moment in our own lives with ourselves, day after day after day after day. I think that's the way, that's the kind of one of the secrets to life.
A very quick break to ask you to hit the follow or subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're enjoying this episode, I'd be super grateful if you could hit those stars and rate it too. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. It really, yeah, it's finding that happiness from within, and we can all do it. And as you say, we can all make that choice to do it. And it is literally from the moment you wake up, it is making that decision. Okay, what sort of day do I want to have? And actually, if you choose to if you decide, right, my day's going to be great, then it's literally from the moment you wake up, you can decide that it's going to be fantastic. And I just woke up, I've kind of, this morning, we've got more water coming in through a different place in our house, in the kitchen. We've just got little places all over. But actually, it didn't really bother me at all, because I love my kitchen. It's really cozy. We've got a really gorgeous, it actually looks like a real wood burner, but it's not real. It's actually a gas, so it's so lovely. We can put it on in the morning, and it looks what it radiates so much heat. So every time I go in that room, although this morning, even though I had water coming in through the light, I actually was like, I still love this room. And yeah, it's funny, isn't it? You kind of can train your mind. Okay, it's a freaking pain in the ass, and I'm going to have to get it sorted out, and blah blah blah. But I'm not going to let it ruin my day. And it's so funny. I've been doing some things at home recently to try and sort out some clutter. We have so much. We've had so much clutter in the house. 3 kids, and there's just everything should have a space, but everything gets so out of control. And I had a bit of a clampdown last week. I was like, right, okay, I've got to declutter everything. And so I took loads of things to charity shop. We had a big old declutter sorting out. And my goodness, I am just loving everything now, because actually I can get into the cupboard under the stairs now. And I can actually open the messy drawer without everything falling out. And it doesn't need, these are the things which are bringing me so much joy.
Yeah.
And they've been annoying me for so long. And actually, it just takes that decision, like, right, enough, I'm going to sort it out.
Yeah.
We can cultivate that joy with these small little practices.
Totally. And I think, God, what was my point? I'm doing that thing where I've completely fallen out of my head, menopausal. I know what I was going to say. Going back to, you and I talk about this a lot, cultivating awareness of your thoughts. And this really is the sort of, the kind of cornerstone of mindfulness. But we have to be aware of what we're thinking.
Oh, yes, I was
and we have to be, one of the biggest things about being mindful is being mindful when your mind is going down a freaking rabbit hole that is not serving you. And you could have gone down the rabbit hole of, oh my God, there's water coming in, everything's shit, this is the worst thing in the whole world, and it could have ruined your day. We have to be able to bring awareness to what we're thinking, and more than that, recognize when our thoughts are going down a road that we do not want them to go down and is not going to serve us. We've got to get to the stage where we can shift that focus, and we can and that, I think, is when you need to learn to shift your focus from whatever it is that you're worrying about to something really little. And whether, for me, it might be, I'll just have to go and look at my cat and my heart explodes because I'm so obsessed with this fucking cat. It's ridiculous. And all I need to do is just go and look at him and give him, pick him up and give him a hug. And then I'm just like, I feel so much better. So we have to be aware of where our thoughts are, because if we're not aware of where our thoughts are, then we're not using mindfulness. And that is ultimately what it's all about. Most of us are we're not thinking about our thoughts. We're not being intentional about our thoughts. So we're just somewhere else, which is the definition of not being mindful. When you're so kind of somewhere else, thinking about this or worrying about that you're not here in this moment. You're worrying about something else. So it's really cultivating that awareness of where are your thoughts. And I've said this a gazillion times on the podcast. I have reminders in my phone about 20 freaking times a day, literally saying things like, where are your thoughts? How are you feeling? Like, to remind myself, because we forget. And even someone who is, I think I'm relatively aware, as are you, but even someone like me who is quite aware of my thoughts, I still need that daily reminder. So put reminders in your phone to ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? Where is my mind going right now? Am I going down some downward spiral? Where am I? And then just check in. And it really, it sounds like such a silly thing, but having reminders in your phone every couple of hours throughout the day, it's been a game changer for me. I cannot recommend it highly enough.
Yeah, I tell this to everybody I work with as well. It's such a useful thing, because this is how I do this too. So, you can just simply set yourself an alarm every hour or however you want, and it just goes ding. And when that ding goes off, just notice, well, what am I thinking? And if you're thinking lovely thoughts, or you're kind of engrossed in a project, well, great. But if you find yourself ruminating or having negative thoughts, which so many of us do, because it's something like 90% of our 60,000 thoughts are negative and on repeat, which is just completely nuts. So if that is the case, then you can just sort of ask yourself, is what I'm thinking actually helpful? Probably not. It's negative. Is it true? Quite often it's just not the truth. And just reach for a slightly better thought, or just bring yourself back into, as you say, back into that present moment. And it is so effective. It's like a muscle. You're just training this muscle. It's like doing a bicep curl. You're training this muscle. It's like this awareness muscle. It's the same as what you do really when you meditate. Every time your mind wanders, which it will, and you notice that it's wandered and you're bringing it back, that is like doing a bicep curl. And it's the same during the day. It's when you notice that you are thinking negative thoughts, or they're not in a helpful place, you just bring it back to something either in the present or something slightly better to think about. And you can train yourself, and the more you do it, the more practice you get it, you're going to generally have a much happier experience. And also just remember that every time we're in those negative thought loops, there is a chemical reaction happening in your body. So, if we have really happy, positive thoughts, we're getting dopamine, we're getting all these really good, feel-good chemicals being released. But when we have these negative thoughts and we get stuck in these spirals, and, these amazing studies have found that, we have so many of them on repeat, our body is having a chemical reaction, and it's releasing kind of cortisol and those stress hormones, which are then getting stuck within our body. So it's actually detrimental to our health, to our well-being, and causing that sort of real sense of disease. And then our body physiologically gets addicted, and it's happening all the time. We get addicted to those chemicals, those chemical reactions. So if we're having constant negative thoughts, then our body is addicted. So we kind of find ourselves in situations where we're just stuck in that loop. And then obviously it's the opposite. If you're having really positive thoughts, and you get stuck in that loop, which is great. So a way to really break that is obviously to think your way out of it with your thoughts, or an awareness, which is brilliant. Breath work is another way you can really get yourself out of that, because actually of the brain-body connection. often when you're in that negative spiral and you're having those negative thoughts, you're having those chemical reactions, your breathing will probably change to more of a sort of shallow, light breathing. So actually just taking some deep breaths and really lengthening your exhale. That's the key here, is lengthening your exhale. You can actually shift your state back into that parasympathetic, and your thoughts hopefully will start to spiral more positively as well.
Totally. Do you know, there's an analogy, I'm sure you've heard this, Polly, and I've talked about this on the podcast and in my membership too, I think, that is, so essentially the name of the game when it comes to changing your life and making it better is we've got to literally rewire our brain. We have to rewire our subconscious mind. We have to, build new neural pathways that are serving us, and get rid of the ones that aren't. And the analogy that I always use, that I've heard, I think it was Joe Dispenza I heard say it originally, but I've heard a few say it, but I think it's such a good way of thinking about it, is that if you think about all the neural pathways in our brains, so the thoughts that we think over and over and over again, and like you said earlier, we think the same freaking thoughts every day. The 60 to 70,000 thoughts that we have every day, the vast majority of them are exactly the same as the ones that we had yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before, and the vast majority of them are negative, which is horrifying when you think about it. But if you think about these pathways as roads, and basically things like, so a classic limiting belief that people have is, I am not enough. I am not enough. I'm not good enough. So when you've been thinking that thought, I am not enough, on repeat every day, God knows how many times, for literally decades, then that particular neural pathway is like the fricking M25 for anyone not in the UK. It's like a massive great freeway, because that pathway is so well trodden by our mind that it just becomes this huge motorway. And what we need to do is to get to the thoughts that we want to have, the thoughts that are serving us, that are going to change our lives for the better. We want to be thinking them over and over and over again, so that they go from a tiny little pathway and we build them up so that they then become like a big old motorway. And so if you think about it like that, I find it really helps to think about it like that. So when you think about your thoughts, as your brain is full of all of these pathways, some are big, some are small. We want to downgrade the shitty thoughts that are currently motorways and upgrade the thoughts like, I am enough. We want to upgrade them and think them again and again and again and again and again, so that they become like those motorways in our brain. Because what then happens is that through repetition, over and over and over again, and this is why you have to be so conscious and so intentional about it, and do things like breath work, when we think them again and again and again, they become automatic, in the same way that I am not enough is automatic for a lot of us. We want I am enough to become automatic, or I am worthy, or whatever it is. We want that to become the automatic thought. But really, the great thing is, because of neuroplasticity, we get to rewire our brains. So that is kind of what we want to be thinking about. Did that make sense?
Totally, yeah, brilliant analogy, brilliant, and it works, because I know that I used to be the most shy person, didn't want to speak in front of anybody, let alone in front of a bloody camera on Instagram. That was my absolute worst nightmare, and I just didn't believe in it myself or any, and actually I have been training myself with all of this, and now actually I feel so comfortable. I don't really give a shit what anybody is thinking. I'm just sort of showing up, being me. And that is because of all of this stuff which we're talking about, and this, just living in the moment, and just living more in the present moment. Oh God, I still, really have got a lot of work to do with it, but it is a practice. You don't just suddenly arrive and go, oh right, I'm present all the time. I'm sure even the Dalai Lama has moments, maybe, where you're not present and you're worrying about something, whatever. But it is a practice, and I think it's just something I know I have to do all the time, just to keep myself in these places. But over time there are shifts, so that you do become less of those kind of like I'm not enoughness, or those old limiting beliefs, and more of what you desire, what you want,
Yeah.
more of who you are, who you truly are. Ultimately, that's what we're all trying to become, isn't it?
Yeah.
Peel those layers of kind of just of all that shit which we've picked up through life, and which make us doubt ourselves, which make us not very confident, and actually just come ultimately back to our true essence, our true selves,
Yeah.
and that is the place we want to operate from. And that, I think, is ultimately what being mindful is. It's about just be you,
Yeah.
and move through life in that real kind of pure present state as possible, which sounds hard, and it is. But if you could get little moments of it, it's gonna, it feels good.
Yeah. Very wise words. Can I just say, Val, thanks so much for your lovely comment. You ladies are really amazing. I so need to hear this.
Aww.
How lovely. Thank you. Polly, it's 9:32. We've gone 2 minutes over. Is there anything that you want to say before we wrap up? Any tips? I mean, I think I'm done, actually.
Yeah.
Except to just say we've got to be trying to, it for me, as I say, it's about being in the moment. Just be in the moment. And if you have to make that the reminder in your phone every hour of the day, be in the moment, be in the moment, be in the moment, then do that. And it sounds silly, but
savor your food, just use your sense, think about your senses. It's just like
savouring,
taste, and even doing if you're folding up the laundry, just feel it, make the pile, this is how sad I am, make the piles nice and neat. Just like, kind of, I don't know, it's just taking pride in everything you're doing, or it's savouring it, and just remembering to do that, because again, it's so easy again just to go in autopilot. But
completely. It. And you said, you laugh about the pile of ironing, but that's exactly the kind of thing that if you can get to a stage in your life where you get excited.
It's not ironing. I think you're ironing. It's not
okay.
Ironing.
Well, if you can get to a stage where you get excited about folding clothes perfectly, that's the key right there. That's what you want. You want to be able to get excited and moved, and joyful about tiny silly little things like I get when I've done the washing up after my supper, and I'm like, oh, that's so nice, because now it's clean, and when I come down in the morning, la la la. So I mean, it sounds silly, but it's not. It's really not.
Amazing. Thanks, Lucy. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to speak to you too. Lots of love. I'll see you next Monday.
Yeah.
All right, then. Take care. Bye. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.